All right. Welcome, everyone, to the first TO Talks podcast. I'm Krebs, joined by Ammo. Ammo, if you want to say hi, feel free. Um,
Hey, what's up, everyone?
yeah, that's Ammo. And so, yeah, this was really a podcast I had as like a Twitch sub goal, as something to make. Um, and I just, I guess I'll start with a bit of a background on me, like everything I've been doing in this realm. So I've been a tournament organizer since 2012. It started with um, basically, of course, first attending tournaments back in Brawl, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. And then from attending tournaments, I started helping out at my college's events. And they were so like new to everything. Like they didn't know about challenge.com. They didn't know about how you should have like a lot of setups and stuff for each game or anything. And so I was just like dishing all this stuff on them. And then my second semester of college, they made me president of the gaming club. And that's where I went on to host a number of charity events for Mortal Kombat, Injustice, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and Project M, as well as Street Fighter. And then across like
All the
2014,
popular games.
all the popular games exactly. And the college loved it. Um, like everyone was really like surprised at how big gaming events are and everything. Um, but yeah, then I'd say 2014 and up, I started hosting at venues, and that is a whole nother world. And basically today, we're going to be going over stuff like that we've learned over years of experience. I mean,
Yeah,
we've been through so much already, and we're going to be going through so much more and learning so much more as we go. Um,
yeah,
so
we're not going to be able to get through everything in one single night because we're literally going through years and years of hosting events and planning them, and all the stuff in between both of us. It's not gonna be all a one night session. Like this is gonna have to be a podcast with episodes because there's just so much going on here at TO.
yeah, not to mention like various guests I'm going to have in the future that will be able to expand on all of these topics and other ones and everything. Like, this is going to have to be basically a whole ass new series, and I'll like it's hard for me personally to like find the motivation and stuff to get up and do a podcast. So it won't be like a consistent reoccurring thing, but it could be something like once a month or twice a month, or an occasional sub goal or an occasional small donation goal. So
Honestly, none of those are bad ideas on it.
yeah, so just basically like look forward to more of these in the future because like there's actually a lot of topics here. I'm gonna pan to the full screen here so you guys can see. This is everything that we have in mind today. We don't plan on covering it all because we want to focus on completing each topic. There is one final topic though that I do want to close the night on. Um, but outside of that, like there's probably a handful of things here in the middle that we won't get to.
Yeah, we
So
want to be as detailed as possible on each step because we don't want to leave anything out. There's
yeah,
obviously a lot of things that we wish we knew earlier, and we're basically passing that up down on you guys, so you don't have to worry about, you know, missing steps or like, what do I do, or getting in a situation and not having an idea how to react to it. We're gonna help you with all of that. We'll get through it all eventually, but like Krebs said, it will take some.
yeah, for sure. And in fact, you mind giving us a quick rundown of your experience in history? Like, I can tell them like you've run all sorts of weeklies, bi-weeklies, and stuff in Smash, but can you talk about what you've done outside of Smash, even like with Game Sharks?
Oh yeah, I used to work gaming group that's called Game Sharks with a Z, and we would run sport events like for Madden, like official Madden Challenger events. So to go through that briefly, I had already had a bunch of experience in Smash and other fighting games and streaming, and there was a gaming place that had opened up here locally, and I found my way into that place as a gaming event organizer or event director, and I was helping them direct all sorts of events. And they had a Madden Challenger coming up because they had already previously had it planned, and I got myself involved into it, and everyone loved me at the event and loved the job that I did getting it organized
Yeah.
and smooth. And word got out, and I got hired by Game Sharks to do another Madden Challenger, and did the same thing. And I got flown out to Florida, and it was great, honestly. You know, being able to travel for something that you love to do, and honestly, it's not as difficult as most people think, is because the demand for such professional skill sets and professional atmosphere and all that stuff coming from an individual, it's hard to come by. But we're here to teach you all of that stuff so you guys can kind of have similar experiences. And outside of that as well, I've also done some game convention rooms, you know, like where there's anime conventions or video game conventions or sci-fi conventions.
Yeah, I've done those myself too. Yeah.
For like video games, and hundreds, sometimes even up to 1,000 different people a day will come into those rooms and pay money to play games or to join in tournaments and raise all sorts of money doing that. I have a lot of experience with huge crowds, handling a lot of registration in a short amount of time. I'm sure you remember when I was there at City Clash, that as well. And I guess just to round it up, I've been doing this also around the same time frame as you. Early 2014, I started doing an event, and I have 120 plus full events under my belt. And of course, help people with streaming, I help people with management, and I do a little bit of streaming myself.
And we could even do whole podcasts on streaming itself, but we're gonna focus on like the TOing realm and everything. And there is one thing I want to touch on too. Like, there are awesome experiences that you can have where you host events at conventions. There was one I hosted at this Houston Arcade Expo where they had like 100 plus pinball machines and all kinds of like arcade games and stuff. And yeah, they wanted there to be a Smash tournament there, and I was the guy, basically. And a bunch of my friends from the scene came, you know, to fiend the prize pool and everything. And not to mention, you know, there's events we've done with Comic Palooza in the past. Like, in the past, Zyro would be the one to, like, know the people and do host events there. And then most recently, last year, we did an event we called Smash Point with Mainline and Comic Palooza. I believe the prize pool was $5,000. I actually can't remember off the top of my head. But we had around 250 entrants and like a big, awesome stadium-like setup. And of course, with your boy behind the belt, but behind the TO belt and everything, it ran smoothly, you know, especially with all kinds of awesome pool captains and stuff. I couldn't have done it alone. No one can. You know, those regionals and stuff, those are not one-man jobs. But yeah, like, there's awesome stuff like that people can like build up towards doing and at least be a part of, you know, as well. Like, those pool captains, you know, they're having a blast, like, you know, and eventually there is like paid work to be had and stuff like that. But yeah, so I guess let's start with our awesome first topic, getting started as a TO and why. So I got into hosting tournaments and stuff because I guess the largest thing is I really like bringing people together.
Yeah, it's definitely a feeling of wanting to bring a bunch of gamers together for a common game or a common cause.
Yeah, for sure. And it's the common cause of having a good time. And, you know, like, there's all kinds of other hobbies out there. There's, you know, kids could end up getting tied up in crime or drugs or anything, and this is a way healthier hobby for people to, engage in and to grow in and to meet people
a
in.
healthy outlet, I believe, is
Yeah.
the proper term, but
Yeah.
it's so much more efficient to have the youth involved in esports than so many other things. For one, it's not as exclusive as athletic sports would be, because in athletic sports, I mean, you do have to physically keep up, whereas not everyone is able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that there's just more participation in esports because we don't really separate tournaments by age or by gender or anything like that, like you would see in physical sports. Everyone's thrown in the same bracket, even the same bracket as the pros. When people go to Evo, they're all in the same tournament, everybody all together. There's no segregation whatsoever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And another thing I'll add is, with there being no segregation, or anything, there's all kinds of awesome people you meet over the years. Like, I can speak from experience. I've helped people I've met from the scene get jobs, and I've had a few circumstances where people I've met in the scene help bring me on to a job too. Like, there's
same here.
Yeah, there's a ton of real life impact that can happen from all the awesome people you meet over months or years in communities like this. But yeah, these are all reasons why you would want to get started as a TO. And there's more that we're going to talk on that as we go, but basically we're going to start transitioning over to for a new tournament organizer, what would be the steps and everything. So the first thing here is how to talk to a potential venue.
Okay, so this is something that really first impressions do matter when you talk to a venue. So the main thing you want to do is speak with confidence. This is coming from experience. If you're talking to a business owner, they want to make money. That is the whole point of a business. I'm not saying it to sound like they're greedy or anything. No, that's just common sense. They're putting money into their business. They want to make money back. If they're putting time into someone, say, organizing a tournament, they would like to see some kind of return. Even if that return is just seeing more customers come in or more publicity. For example, you could use a lot of different ideas to attract the venue, such as telling them there will be a stream, that you're going to advertise it online and spread the word, that you're going to absolutely have a crowd, certain things like that,
Yeah. And I'll add to that. So how to talk to a potential venue, especially like you just said, they want to hear money. So this is how you approach a venue. First off, you're going to want to have in mind what you want to do there, a weekly, a monthly, what would it be? How much would you promote it? And then you do the first one with them. And that first one is always them dipping their water in their feet in the water.
Yeah, so once you have a first event, that first event is more than likely going to determine where they want to go, what direction they want to go, if they want to keep doing it, if they only want to do it once a month, or if there's too many. Sometimes, in some cases, if there's too many people and you need to have less events that day, sometimes that.
Yeah, for sure. And I do want to start talking about one of the best things you can have with you, when you're preparing to talk to a venue, is the breakdown, how much money they are going to make. And so let's talk about it. Let's talk about some of the behind the scenes of the best example, the one we know of, a weekly, with a $5 venue fee and a $5 entry fee. How will that venue fee be distributed? How should it work? Everything. And I'll give you guys a good, maybe breakdown for starting a weekly or anything. It depends on the business too. It depends you'd want to pick out a business that benefits from foot traffic fundamentally, and with enough space and everything for a bunch of nerds to play video games.
Yeah, especially if it's a local place, they would like to just be discovered sometimes. So
Yeah,
that also helps.
yeah. And then as long as they're happy with just that, and then also making some money off food, drinks, snacks, whatever it may be, then you're golden and you have a lot of leverage, because you yourself should be making at least a little bit of money as a TO for bringing this all to them. So,
Yeah, so the next step is once you have the venue seeing each player as like each player has a certain amount of money, like for example, like you said, the venue fee $5 and they're also buying food, they start seeing the number of people coming in as money.
yeah.
So then they start negotiating with them, or you negotiate with them, so to say, to make it bigger or to start making the event more advertised. And that's where you start negotiating with them, so you start getting your piece of the pie. So that way you can, financially keep doing this, so to say, because as a TO, you can't just keep doing events continuously without some kind of way to back you up financially. And even if it's the venue giving you food so you can eat that day, I can't even tell you how many times I haven't been able to eat because I was just too busy. It's really nice to have, some kind of, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess some backup to your hard work,
Yeah.
whether it's money or food or perks, just so you're making something. It keeps you motivated.
Yeah, it does. It hella keeps you motivated. And for a while, for months and years, I mean, I was doing it out of passion of it, especially because it was so brand new. That's how everyone starts. But you get to a point where you're like, okay, hold on. I built a lot of experience. I'm doing this in such a professional way that, like, you need to demand compensation, basically. But that's a topic I want to get to at the end. What I'm going to get back to is actually like a good breakdown for weeklies.
Yeah, an event creation, kind of like a quick breakdown of that.
Yeah. So a good like business proposal that you could have to a business for a weekly is something like $3 a head. $3 a head, and then you show them the bracket, or you say that you get the direct number of people from how many entrants there are in a singles bracket. And so if there's 20 people, then boom, $60. And the rest you can sort of, start doing some venue waves, keep a bit for yourself, or put towards, more equipment like surge protectors or stream equipment if you want to get into that. But basically, yeah, you do want, I would say you need a slice of the venue fee pie for yourself. Now, that doesn't mean like, your gas money or your pay necessarily. Like I said, it can mean money that you put towards equipment and everything.
You can also use that towards the pot, which I've done a lot of the times just to attract more numbers, just to keep the venue in support of the event. And that seems to work a lot too, especially when you're first starting. And, like Prep said, if Christy wasn't really in it for the money or anything, you can always use, like, let's say the venue takes 70% or 80% of the venue fee, and then the other 20% you're allowed to use as you see fit, which would technically be what you use to buy more equipment to make the events better. You could pay for advertisements on social media, which is very effective, honestly, very effective. You would get a lot of new people into communities that way by simply paying for advertisement. I know it seems like an unorthodox method, especially when you can just say, hey, I can just tell people by word of mouth, but we'll get to that part. I'm just running down a couple of things you can do with action.
Yeah.
And of course, you can keep it as well to keep yourself motivated, or you can help other people get their venue fees waived, get someone who, I don't know, really anything. There's so much you can do you can hold a raffle, which is very popular as well.
Oh yeah, like there's so many different things you can do. Yeah, I think one thing I do want to mention real quick, and this is again for someone like looking to get into hosting a tournament, is event frequency and what purpose is the event going to serve. So right now, like, there isn't any offline events, so this is more speaking like when things can return to at least somewhat of a norm. Um,
Yeah, most of
but
our experiences with physical events. I mean, we still do the online events, obviously. Krebs has the weekly. He's been doing it for quite a while, but when they do come back, these are definitely things you want to remember.
yeah, so especially in Smash, there's all kinds of people that will like look to start up a weekly and stuff, and it's honestly, I think there should only be like one event per part of town, like for big cities too. For smaller towns, maybe one on the east side and one on the west, and those can be weekly or bi-weekly. But I do want to talk numbers for a bit as well, numbers of attendees. So with event frequency, if you are going to host a weekly and it only gets 10 to 15 people, then honestly, in my, I guess I could say, professional opinion, make it a bi-weekly. Just trust me, make it a bi-weekly instead.
The more time you have to advertise, the more people are going to see it, the more people are going to plan for it. Because you got to remember, people have lives. They can't just see something and be like, oh, I'm going to go to it. They have to make time. So if I had 2 weeks to plan for a Smash event, I know I wanted to go. I would ask for that day off, or I would switch my shift to someone if I had a job, and I would make time for that event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Because there's inherently more value in an event with more people, and bi-weeklies by nature will have more people because it's only happening once every 2 weeks. And it is very fundamentally hard to tell people with a weekly, this is the week to go every single week. Like, trying to do that every single week, this is why this week is important. It gets to a point where it's like, okay, hold on, he's saying like even if you come up with new stuff, even if you're mixing it up and doing cool side events, doing raffles, doing something new every single week, it just gets to a point where it's like, hold on, like a bi-weekly would fundamentally be bigger and better. And that's just an example, like if your weekly isn't getting that many people.
The whole point of frequency is you don't want to overflood the market. So to say, there's a supply and demand balance with Smash. And when you do have enough people, the weekly is the perfect balance. But when you do, like you said, if you're only getting 10 to 15 people, you're not going to attract the people who want to only go to big tournaments. Mm-hmm. So when you make it a bi-weekly, you're essentially and theoretically doubling the number by making people wait an extra week. And all the people who know that it's no longer a weekly or it's not as often, they just automatically know other people are going to go because it's less frequent. Mm-hmm. So people will go because the demand will start to grow over the week that they don't get the.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very simple concept. I'm sure everyone understands it, but it's super beneficial when it comes to tournament organizing. And not only that, but you get the extra week to plan, to advertise by word of mouth or by advertising other means, and it's just better when you have more time to plan as a player.
Yeah, and on that note, this is an easy transition to, I'd like to start talking about spreading word and event marketing. So how to promote your event in general. So I'll let you take the lead here.
I'll finish. You start a little bit though. Go ahead and start a little.
Okay. So I've done all kinds of events, from locals to regionals to large regionals, what some would even call nationals, like Clutch City Clash 1 and 2, which had 600 plus attendees across several games. And Clutch City Clash 1 having Mango, Mewtwo King, Ice, and then in Smash 4, Abadongo, Samsora, many others. So what some advice we have as far as like event marketing and stuff is Facebook ads, for one, are very elaborate, very calculated, and they really do a good job at targeting the market you want. So for one, you can like sort by age and sort by interests, like people that like put in all kinds of tags like gaming, Smash, or if you're doing any other game. Like, I've seen Facebook ads work for example, a $500 prize pool free to enter Gears of War tournament at Top Golf, and that event ended up getting like 100 to 120 plus people. Like it, like these things work. These things really do work. And I'll let you go on ahead and add here, Ammo.
So as he was saying with the advertisements, it pretty much does the work by targeting. That's pretty. So the main thing when it comes to advertising is enticement. I know that sounds a little bit deceptive, but it's not. Enticement are real things that you get for going to the tournament. One big example, which we're kind of going to have to get into, is streaming. If you're a tournament organizer and you have a stream, or you have a channel with a stream, or you have a stream going, or let's say you even have an organization name already going because you already have some events, you want to be more professional, so you kind of take that extra step to make yourself an org on Facebook and start streaming under that name, not just somebody's name on Twitch or whatever, which is fine. It's always okay. But now you're an organization, and you can get other people to help you. It's no longer just you. You can get other people involved and make it bigger. And when you're advertising, you always want to tell people this is big, it's getting bigger. Don't miss it. Static players are going to be your save as a TO. Static players are the best thing. People who come to your events all the time. The static players are the ones you want to always let them know about the events as soon as you make them, because they will plan to go to them, they will attend, and you'll see your events have a high average number, like 20 plus, even 32 plus sometimes, if you really do a good job at these events and there's enough setups. You start growing, and with growth, people are just going to be interested naturally. Big applications on the Google Play Store and the Apple Play Store, they automatically get seen by people just because they're growing. You don't even have to advertise. Just, this is big. Look it up. Get it. It's huge. Go to this because it's growing. Advertisement starts to take over when you start growing. You want to definitely tell people by word of mouth, and you want to get very with people that you want to become static. If you're already running a bi-weekly event that has 32 players and you want to get bigger, all you have to do is start targeting new people. Once you start reaching a max of static players, like, oh, this is everybody who knows about the events and they're all coming, you want to start reaching new people. This is where you get back to advertising on social media. And it's like Crip said, on each side of town, obviously there's different events. People don't want to travel an hour or 30 minutes, even sometimes for a weekly. They want it on their side of town.
Yeah, so, and I'm going to get... Go on ahead and finish, yeah.
One last thing I want to say before I'm going to let you take over for a bit is, sometimes you might, when you start to get that point where you hit the wall and you can't really find new people on your side of town, maybe sometime take in consideration finding another venue. You could have an event in that empty week. So this is where we get to having the bi-weekly at first is really effective, because that open week you can plan something else on another side of town and start reaching new players just automatically, because they live close by. And automatically when you advertise, it goes by distance of how far people live from the venue of the event.
And
so
there's
ahead
some...
and take it over from there. I'm gonna mute myself for a second, but go right ahead.
Okay. Yeah, there's some stuff I really want to get into, and this is for players and TOs in large regions, especially. Like, there's a lot of value in players and tournament organizers building a reputation and making names for themselves. So, for example, SoCal in Smash, like, there's just this big, like, helpful loop of 2G Gaming, like, building up their players, putting out VODs, putting their players on the map, and then inversely, the players get bigger and they attract more people. So they attract more people and everything, and then as a result, like, there will be people that will come out to an event just to play against Elegant, you know, just to play against Larry Lur and stuff. And there's like, as far as like event marketing and everything goes too, the YouTube videos and everything, those are advertising your events too. And not only that, but they serve as like a huge attraction for people to go to your event. So, you know, this is not only for TOs, but also for players. Like, you should look to build a name for yourself, because you end up not only helping specific tournament series or yourself, but you also end up helping the community as a whole by bringing new people into it and everything. It's just this constant, you know, thing that builds upon itself. So again, I can't stress it enough.
It's a community. That's the easiest way to say it. It's just a community.
Yeah, it's a community. You're helping build it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a great feeling, honestly. And as a tournament organizer, even though you don't see it, people are really appreciative.
Yeah, and a ton of people appreciate it.
Yeah, it really is. It's an amazing feeling that you're giving people something they've been needing or they want, or, you know, building the community. But that's also going to get us to another topic when it comes to tournament. You got to be careful about, well, there's a lot of things you got to be careful about, obviously, in tournament. We'll get into those, but we're not going to BS you. We want you to be safe, obviously. We've been through a lot of stuff. We don't want you guys to go through that. So, yeah, tournament organizing is amazing, great. But if I'm going to really tell you everything I know, then I'm going to warn you about certain threats. For example, don't get baited by negative, toxic members of the community, because they're always going to say something about any tournament. Every tournament has naysayers, every single one. The biggest tournaments have naysayers. Evo has naysayers all the time. Don't worry about it. People are going to come to your events, and even the naysayers are going to probably go just because you're doing a good job. Don't worry about that. So that's really a simple solution, because, you know, especially in Smash Bros. And fighting game communities, there's a lot of people who will naysay your event.
Yeah,
but
I mean, quite frankly, in anything you do in life, there will be haters. Like, even if you have the best intentions, even if, like, you know, you're doing some really
especially
genuinely...
if you have the best intentions, actually.
What's up?
Especially if you have the best intentions.
Yeah, like, it's unfortunate, but it's inevitable. Yeah, I mean, like Thanos, you know, it's inevitable.
Yeah, we're not going to BS you guys. It is inevitable. So you have to be ready for that mentally. You have to show leadership, because they're going to test you. There's a lot of people out there who are ready to test your mettle. You have to show them that they're not good enough to test you. You just have to be above it.
Yeah, like, it's actually a huge thing in any community, anywhere.
It's not really spoken about much, because obviously, well, honestly, TOs talk about it to other TOs more. I find myself talking crabs about this stuff more than other.
Yeah.
It's something we understand from each other's. And as you guys start making events, you guys will get what we mean. But
yeah, and you're gonna have to have thick skin. That's the main thing.
Having been there, said that, and done it, or whatever, it's not worth it. You guys just keep on a good job, and don't worry about it. They're gonna come, and you're gonna be better than that, because you already have a heads up, big heads.
Yeah, I'd also say, just a heads up, you might want to talk a bit closer to your mic, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be so far away from
you. Yeah. Just, as close as you can, but, yeah, I mean, you're good now.
My bad.
Yeah, that's all good. So, yeah, as you guys can tell, like, we're covering a lot of, like, good topics here. We're really, like, hitting some things here, like,
very real and very honest with you guys. Like, this is a no holds barred TO talk.
Yeah, this is coming from the heart, you know, like, we've been through some shit out here. We have been through some shit, and, you know, we want to save you guys from having to go through some shit too. So
yeah, we don't want you guys to go through the worry of not knowing what to do or what to rely on. Just, you always gotta, I know this is very obvious to say, but rely on yourself. You got to trust yourself, especially when you start growing and you start, hey, you're my good friend, and you come to all these events. Would you like to help? You still got to rely on yourself, big time.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
people aren't going to go to those other people when they need help. If they recognize you as the tournament organizer, they're going to go to you for any problem they have. Be ready for people to be saying your name I'm not even kidding. Every 5 seconds, people saying your name when you have big enough events asking for your attention. So be ready, be prepared, and eat a good breakfast.
Yes.
Every tournament day. I can't tell you how many times I missed breakfast and regretted it so much. Eat a nice, healthy breakfast every tournament. You're not going to eat until that is.
I mean, that's even a huge psychological thing. Like, I'm not going to get into it too much, but just fundamentally going without eating for a while causes anxiety, and it'll
take care of yourself.
Yeah, prepare yourself. Just eat well. Save yourself the unnecessary stress and eat. Just eat.
That's
drink.
one of the bonuses of having a venue with food is that you can eat at the venue that you're hosting the tournament at without having to worry about leaving.
Yeah, and
That's
see about getting like any sort of discount or. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that it's always something you want to keep in mind when looking for a venue. And yeah, you're right. You definitely will probably get the discount as a tournament organizer, or even probably even half off or something, like maybe even a free meal if you're good enough to rent a venue. Try a lot of different places. You never know what a venue will offer you. Sometimes they'll be like, yeah, you can just come in and play and do whatever, and you're just charge the venue fee and keep having. You never know. Try a bunch of different places. I've held events at arcade bars. I've held them at a Krispy Kreme. I've held them at a bunch of different locations. At craft food places that have big projectors. There's a lot of different that want events. They want traffic. As soon as you start understanding what these venues look like, when you're out and about by yourself in everyday life, you're going to start looking at normal businesses and you're going to be like, hey, I just got an idea. This place can have an event like this or an event like that or a Smash Bros event, or they would be interested in an event like this, or I'm good at that game and they seem to like stuff like that here. It's super easy to start talking to someone. They're people. All these managers and venue owners, they're people.
Yep.
They want to hear ideas. As weird as it sounds, people don't always go up to the manager and have ideas. As you would think people are probably always doing that, they don't. They really don't. So you have an advantage right there. Just talking to the manager, you're one of maybe 20,000 people who didn't talk to the manager just because they didn't want to have an idea or they just didn't want to host a tournament. I don't know, maybe they're just customers, but you have an advantage. I know it sounds odd, but just that simple, hello, my name is so-and-so.
And I have some ideas, and I have this
it has a
thing.
big impact.
Yeah, I have this thing I want to bring here, and they'll be all ears. They're always looking for more ways to make more money, to garner more foot traffic, everything like that.
You guys got to remember, there's 7 days in the week. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I remember, some places are only even open on Friday and Saturday because people only, go to those places on certain days of the week. If there's dead traffic on a Monday or a Tuesday, and you know that all your friends who play Smash or play Street Fighter or whatever game are free and you have setups, why not find a place that needs the traffic, that needs people to buy food, needs people to post pictures on Instagram or Snapchat or Twitter or anything. Help them out, help a business out. You're helping them out. As much as you think that, oh, well, it's going to be hard to negotiate. No, every business I have talked to so far has agreed to some degree of having a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Once you start seeing the potential in venues, you're going to know which places want. You're like, oh yeah, we're dead on Wednesday. We would love to have a Smash event and sell food and all this. And most of the time, they're just like, oh, we'll just have them spend this much money at our place. And you guys are paid for venue. And that's basically go eat and you're good. That's really great for Smash Play, in all honesty.
Yeah, it is. And so, this is all just, adding to what we were saying earlier about, what this has to offer a business and everything. But I do want to start transitioning to some like Smash specific stuff, and
Yeah, let's do that because we
so
can easily tell people a lot about that.
yeah, so some Smash and also FGC tournament specific stuff like there's actually a lot of underutilized automation in running events that people aren't doing yet. Like myself included, I haven't gotten to this level yet, but basically there are steps. So with first events, maybe you'll start with calling matches and taking scores, for a 10 to 20 person local, right? But then it'll get to a point where you'll want to start putting more of the work on the attendees itself. Have them report their own scores. Just trust me. Have tablets or anything, or at least a tablet or a TO computer that they have access to, or a TO laptop, where they can report their own scores. That takes a lot of pressure off of you, and then you can focus on calling matches. And then there's even a step beyond that, and there's actually only one local, probably in the whole world, that has gone to this level. There's this local in Chicago, I believe it's Ignition. I don't know, I've only heard of it. But they have these monitors across the venue. And when I tell you, like, they have it automated so well to the point where the players see what setups to go to, and they report their own scores. All the TO is needed for, at that point, is taking in money and doing registration. Then at that point,
it's gonna be on stream.
yeah, yes, and then stream running and everything, because it is, again, like a huge weekly. It's their premier weekly over there, and at that point you can be the TO and streamer. Honestly, like, you can do both.
Yeah, eventually you want to be so good at TOing that you're gonna be more worried about the stream than getting people to their setups and scores.
Yeah. Like, honestly,
I know that sounds a little weird, but the stream really does help out a lot of the incentive for people to go, and people are watching as you'd be surprised. People will be there at the event. They can just watch the people play, but they're on their phones watching the stream instead, chatting. It's pretty impressive with the Smash community how interactive they are when it comes to streaming.
Yeah,
Go
for
right
sure.
ahead.
And it goes back to what I was saying earlier, like streams and YouTube VODs and stuff, they help build names for your players, and then the players having more renown and, I guess, quite frankly, more clout, that entices more people to come in. Like, there will be people that have heard of all of these players but don't even know about your weekly, and there's just so many people that will know like certain things but not know like about all of this or the whole community, or they won't know about the Facebook group, with 5,000 plus people where everyone's been talking for years, like, but they'll know Shadow PR, or they'll know Wispy, or they'll know any like top level player in your city, but they won't know about the scene. So it all just helps with each individual thing, and it all helps for growth in the long run. And I guess to like finish the topic of like automating bracket running and everything, and really just making it streamlined, making it fluid, making it just a well-oiled machine, that makes everything easier on you, so that you can focus on those things that grow the scene, that add production value, and that make your events more high quality,
So, if you wouldn't mind, I would like to go back to the original idea of the setup of the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So, as we're going through this, I'm thinking about it. We should probably tell everyone what the ideal setup is at an event.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to say my take of it. Obviously, as soon as I walk in, I want to be presented with a registration desk.
Yeah, that's pretty important.
Yeah, just like your registration desk on the stream.
Yeah, right. Hello, this is the TO desk. Welcome.
Yeah, the TO desk is a very important part of the structure of the event because first of all, there needs to be a place where people can go to pay and then get registered. Because you can't just be running around being like, okay, I'm taking registrations. They need to go to one place. As soon as they go in, they want to naturally see something that, you know, I go here with my money. Here, there's a
Yeah.
registration desk. Oh, that's perfect. There's a line
And
right there.
and this is where
It's
I can
natural.
ask questions and everything. Like, yeah.
And that's where you have a volunteer or yourself sitting at the location, taking registration, taking money, you know, putting it aside the venue fee, and the pot with the player pot, obviously.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say
And
real
then,
quick, like
yeah.
this is stuff that I love, like when it gets emphasized, because I've even forgotten some of this over the years. Like I would end up, making the TO desk somewhere like in the back or something, or like by the stream, and like this is good stuff to be reminded of, even for experienced TOs. Like you might forget some of the basics like this, but trust us. Like I mean, you know as well if you're an experienced TO. The registration desk at the front or at a storefront or at a store counter is the best way to go for sure.
Yeah, and as you start becoming more experienced as a TO, you start seeing the things that you do need and how to set up around a venue, how to turn a venue into people being there. It becomes natural to you. It becomes a talent, something you can pick up on. It's kind of weird because I've talked with this about crowds before. There's not really a college major to go into for event organizing. I think they're barely even coming out with degrees for that specific esports campus. But for the most part, there's not really a major thing you can go into besides business. Business is good to go into, obviously, if you're really wanting to go into that. But really, when it comes to event organizing, you're getting word of mouth from other people who have experience, and then you're getting your own experience. Most of the time, experience is the teacher when it comes to event organizing.
Yeah, like there's no clear-cut path, like especially when we were getting into it 5+ years ago. Like it was the Wild West, but it still is.
Yeah.
And it's still hella uncharted territory. There's so much like that you kind of have to figure out for yourself, and we hope we help with that, on this podcast. Like I hope this helps.
Yeah. So another thing about the setup, you want to optimize space between the setups of whatever you're, like, let's say it's Super Smash. You want to optimize enough space for two players to sit comfortably. Obviously now, post-COVID, you want them to sit a certain amount apart from each other. So considering that, you really do have to consider it now, because there's a lot of people who won't go to your tournament now if you don't follow guidelines. I know that's kind of straightforward to say, but that's just how it is now. So you're going to have to make sure that setups are spaced and that you're optimizing it perfectly to have as many people in there as possible comfortably playing, and also alongside the TO desk, you want the stream setup. The stream setup is probably going to be the heart of where people want to be. It's depending where you're at, you're really going to have to play around with the idea of where you have your commentators and where you have them. But I think when we get to a later podcast, we'll be more detailed about layouts. Right now, we're just kind of mentioning things to have, not really the layout. But we'll help with layouts when we get to that, especially when tournaments actually do start opening up. We'll get into that.
Right.
Another thing you might want to have, if you have enough volunteers, have the brackets on them and give them access to the brackets in case we're not at that level. In case we're not at that level where people are automatically doing it, have your volunteers running around with it in hand, or have a screen up by the TO desk like how Devin has on this. Have the TV there with the bracket. You can hook up the HDMI to a laptop really easily. Even cheap laptops have that ability. So you shouldn't have too much of a problem hosting the event. With brackets displayed and available for people to report scores. That makes things go by really fast.
It certainly does.
Yeah, half the time people aren't using the setups after you get past like round two, because people are always flourishing about, going back and forth. The faster you get through it, the better. I know that you would do eliminate people if you do go faster, but as a TO, you want the bracket to go as fast, as smooth as possible, with no complaint.
And like as a fundamental thing, like it's actually what I think has made me a great TO from the beginning is I've always respected people's time. I've always respected the hell out of it. Like these are people, dedicating time out of their day. All right, so I got to run this bracket as fast as possible. And then the people that want to stick around or can, they will. And they'll play friendlies and they'll have a good time. But everybody hates waiting for their match. Like, especially if it's a long time, 30 minutes plus. Like, people don't like waiting for their match. So trust us, run it as quickly as you can, and respect people's time.
Yeah, you definitely. At first, it's going to be a little hard to kick your friends off of friendlies, and there might be that one person who doesn't want to get off. But as you start getting more into it, it's going to become more natural for you to just kind of yell out, "Hey, no more friendlies." It becomes more a natural thing and less of a weird custom. It becomes more of a natural thing that has to be done. It just has to be, because if you don't get people off the friendly setups when it's time to start, you're going to be behind by so many matches. You don't know when these people are getting off individually. They need to all get off at the same time. You got to show a little bit of the. I know it's a little bit of asking much of some people, but you got to show that tiny bit of dominance. Like, hey, Matt, hey, everybody, hey, guys, girls, everybody. It's time to start off the setups. We're going to get this going. So let's do this off the setups.
Mm-hmm. You got to be assertive, basically.
Yeah,
and
if you're assertive and everyone hears you clearly the first time, you really shouldn't have to repeat yourself.
Mm-hmm. And it's something that's honestly really nice. Across time, you end up developing good leadership skills. Like, it ends up just happening, You end up, figuring out better ways to guide a crowd through anything. And that carries over to a lot of good, like, professional careers and stuff. Like, there's a lot of good skills.
It carries over into everything. Even when you're being interviewed by someone, it carries over.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, whenever you're getting interviewed, like, you'll be able to talk with more confidence and everything because you've handled crowds at this point. And, like, there's a lot of awesome skills to be had being a TO. But I do want to start transitioning to another topic or two, mainly pertaining to orgs and organizations, okay?
Okay, let's do this.
Yeah. So, a lot of TOs, they do want to, like, start making an org and start making a brand and everything. And there is a lot of value to that. There hella is. Because a brand can be bigger than you. In fact, it will be bigger than you, usually.
The first thing I'm going to point out is a brand will be sponsored. And unless you're an amazing player, you're not going to get sponsored for being a TO just as a name, your name.
Yeah.
Being an organization, that's your key to the business world. It's literally your open window into the business world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because it's literally the first step you take into getting into business. Obviously it's going to be nonprofit as first, but you never know how big it will get or how much work you put into it. Really depends. But if it gets big enough, you can turn it into a real legit business. How do you think all these other businesses came about?
They started somewhere, exactly. And
mm-hmm.
in orgs, and so you'll want to figure out what you want to do from the beginning, like at least to specialize in. Will it be tournaments? Will it be tournaments and streaming with a stream channel and brand and YouTube channel, everything? You'll want more people, and you'll need to assign certain roles. I mean, I've been the guy for years that has like worked on YouTube VODs and stuff. That's hard, and honestly, those people need to get paid. They hella need to get paid. So there's a lot of stuff. In fact, that's an easy transition to this. Like, there's all kinds of valuable paid roles that can help grow organizations. Video editing, graphic design,
stream director, commentator.
Yes, all of those. There's so many roles.
They're very real profession.
Yeah, yeah, and at a local level, like they still warrant a bit of compensation at least, if it can be managed. And um, that is why I'm actually a huge advocate of why small orgs should not sponsor players. Now, these are for, local level PR players, and this is for small orgs that are starting up, trying to build a name for themselves. Um,
Yeah.
Usually, a deal they would make is something like $20 to $50 a month, or waived entry fees, or covered entry fees and gas money for events. And I can tell you right now, unless that player is making content for you specifically, or streaming on your channel,
And you're
or
going the opposite direction you want to go.
yeah, it is literally like you are flushing your money down the drain.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
you're going the opposite way. You need to go the other direction, especially people who aren't familiar with, like we were saying, leadership skills and assertiveness. Like, of course, you're going to be at first like, yeah, I'm for the people. I don't mind giving all of this to someone to come. It's okay. But there will be a point where you will see that, you know what, it was a waste of money. I should have just focused on using that money to get more equipment. So that way, when I go to a venue, I could be like, hey, I already have all this equipment. I already have a setup. Get this going. And then boom, you have a venue instead of, maybe a previous venue that wasn't as good, a better venue. And then who knows, maybe you can get a sponsorship once you have a better venue. There's a whole chain reaction of things you can do with a little bit of money. Whereas, in some cases, you're going to want to spend it on, like you were saying, a player, sponsoring a player, something like that, especially when you're small. You don't want to do that. You want to wait till you're big enough to where that won't hurt you.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of small players, smaller organizations and sponsors and like, oh, well, it's fine. We still survive off of it. And sure, that's your choice. That's cool. I'm glad you guys are doing well. But if you really want to grow, you really want to find a sponsorship for you before you start sponsoring other players. If you already have a sponsorship and you're sponsoring other players and you're doing great, awesome. You already know what you're doing. We would love to have you on the show, probably. But
yeah, as
when
a guest,
you're starting out, yeah, we want to have lots of guests on here, honestly. But when you're first starting out, you definitely want to reach for getting sponsored before you're throwing money. If you're doing raffles, then you're doing the right thing because you're attracting more players. Oh, even if I don't win, I still might get something. Raffle tickets can be bought at Walmart and Hobby Lobby, or I forget what stores, but you can buy raffle tickets. They're very cheap.
I'm going to start making a list here of why specifically small orgs should not sponsor players. So, for one...
because I'm pretty sure they're going to want to know the pros and cons. Obviously, the first one is just, it's too much money that you're not making back.
Too much personal money that you aren't making back. I'll add, you can pay help instead. And then in parentheses, commentators, graphic design, video editors, advertisements.
You can put possibility of players showing up anyways.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if they're a big player, aren't they gonna just show up anyway?
Yeah, I mean,
so instead of wasting your money on sponsoring someone to come, they might just come on their own, and you don't really have to pay them to come and be on your side. They'll just be there, and they'll bring their friends already because you're a fan. That's a possibility.
Yeah, so they would come anyway, sort of thing. Like I'm gonna think about Dallas here for a sec and their Smash scene. Like there is actual value in say Tourney Locator sponsoring players, because for one they're already decently sizable, but there is one like good piece of leverage in a small or mid-level org sponsoring a player, and this is something you would like sort of have in a contract. Just something like, within reason, the player must attend the events of this org. Like, there you go. Like, that's the one thing.
Right. Well, that makes sense because if they're being paid, then it would be mandatory attendance, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then another thing is player, like, if the player is making content um,
Content for organization, yeah.
for organization, and I don't mean they're out there getting good combos. No, I mean they are sending in clips and everything. Like they are doing at least that little bit of effort of, like, I did this, and I'm gonna save you the time of clipping it. Here you go.
Or hell, even to tweet it at least every now and then, right? To advertise on social media. That's another one.
Yeah, those are like the only things, and those are mandatory, for sure. But even then, even with these, still not enough. Still not enough because
the cons outweigh the pros.
They do. These hella do.
Where are you gonna get all this money from? Even if you get them creating content, it's not gonna be 10,000 hits overnight unless the biggest player in your state for some reason. But realistically, you're not gonna start seeing money from all that content for a while. You're just gonna start seeing more exposure and maybe a couple more players at first.
Yeah.
And it adds up. It really counts. Each player adds up tremendously. But when it comes to it, if you're paying someone to make content, you also have to, sometimes be telling them if they're not doing it, which I mean, kind of becomes an uncomfortable situation. You're paying someone to do something they're not doing. And then at that point, you would just maybe even have to end that relationship in business terms. And you don't want sour blood being created between you and the player just because something had to be ended, which wasn't your fault. So there's way too many cons outweigh to, go against the pros. There's not enough pros.
Like
just straight out.
Like there's more that we can come up with too of cons and other things that small orgs can do instead of sponsoring players. I mean, this one bullet point I have here of you can pay help instead. These are all infinitely more valuable than sponsoring a player a lot of the time. Now, I do understand. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said it was ridiculously more valuable. You're right. It is more valuable.
Yeah. There is still, like, I understand people will have, like, a personal thing, like, man, I really believe in this player. I really want to help him personally. But just trust us, like, especially me as someone that's been through it, like, sponsoring players does not help as much as you would like.
If I'm gonna put it in rough terms, these aren't your kids. You don't need to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
You can take care of yourself. They can take care of themselves. If you have a friend who really needs help, by all means, it's your choice to do that. But when it comes to a business relationship, it's definitely not a good idea as a small org. We're just straight out telling you, I know we're putting so much emphasis, but that's more or less because we know what we're talking about through experience.
Mm-hmm. And I want to quickly mention and everything about how, like, there will be orgs and there will be crews and everything, and there is a lot of misconceptions about, like, oh, they have this tag in front of their name on their bracket or anything. That means they're sponsored by this. Well, not necessarily, actually. A lot of the time, there are crews and everything, or people repping certain regions, or little practice groups, or
sometimes
anything
even
like that.
Groups between friends.
Yeah, and there's a lot of value in that. There's so much value in that camaraderie and everything, but it's not a sponsorship necessarily, and that's fine that it's not. It can be a crew, it can be a group of friends, and that's fine.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I did just want to mention that real quick. And there's a whole topic here and everything about top players and everything, getting in contact with them, negotiating flights, how that process goes. But I'm honestly going to save all of this for a future episode. And
we're still getting into the basics, and that's more advanced.
Yeah. That's once you're... Well, if you have the capital for it, you can actually start off the bat with it. But I do want to go on to our final topic of the day. What should TOs be compensated and why? And at what level should a TO get paid for their work? So,
Okay, this one's pretty easy on my part, but I want to hear what you have to say.
okay. Yeah. So what I have to say is, in a perfect world, TOs should hella get paid right away for what they do. Like, they're dedicating their time and energy out of the day, hours out of their life.
A lot of energy. Sometimes
Yes.
it feels more strenuous than an actual physical labor job.
It can. At least without like the proper automation and stuff that we were talking about earlier, it can. Yeah. Especially with drama and certain people, bad apples in any community.
Yeah.
it
We're
can
trying to
feel.
prevent that for you guys, so you don't have to do that. 'Cause that's horrible.
Yeah.
We're trying
But
to change that for the future generations of TOs.
But yeah, like I was
you said,
saying,
we want to make it more autonomous.
right, make it more autonomous. Yeah, make it easier on yourself. Work smarter, not harder in that aspect.
Exactly.
Always but
work smarter.
What I was saying is, in a perfect world, TOs would get paid right away. Now, this is certainly the real world. There's no.
Yeah, this isn't the perfect world. We're definitely not implying that. Absolutely not. But we are definitely saying you should be paid for your work as a part of it. Right? That's absolutely.
So in this imperfect world, you get paid at a point where, well, quite frankly, you can make money in good faith of the community. Now, it's very hard. You have to be at a very high level in order to make any money in good faith with any fighting game community at this point in time. So that's when there's so much reason to pay someone that, like, any naysayer saying, wow, that guy put together this 100+ person regional, like, he shouldn't be paid for that. Like, what the heck? He's just bringing people for playing video games. You'd have to get to a point where everyone around that guy would call him an asshole and say, are you freaking kidding me? Like, this guy is doing this amazing thing and everything. Like, you have to get to that level, basically, before you can look to make money.
Like, even the highest level TOs are still even like maybe even a 60-40 outcome of that. Like, people are really very separated on that. It's very it's hard to talk about, really. I don't know why, but I think it's a normal job that people should be paid for, and that's why we're really pushing for you guys to negotiate with the venue. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's why we're really pushing for it. And it's basically like you have to come up with so many different revenue streams in order to reasonably and rightfully be paid in this current climate. So it's at a point where there's so much money coming in from YouTube, like the event itself, the stream, like there's just so much coming in. Everyone around you is getting compensated at least a little bit too. Your commentators.
Yeah, sponsorships, advertisements, subscribers, donations.
Yeah.
All of that can come to you, and you'd be surprised how fast it will come if you do a good job.
Yeah, there's a lot of like good faith and supporters in certain gaming communities and people willing to help, support events and everything.
I mean, if you look at all the donations and subs on Twitch, period, that's basically what you just described. That's
yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Like, and I mean, I include myself in that. Like whenever I can, I support like the content and communities that I want to see more from. I've entered plenty of locals over the years. I've entered plenty of regionals over the years. I've helped fly out players personally. I've done all sorts of crazy things to help raise money for events. Some of which not even mine, not even my own. There's a lot that goes into it, and a lot that there's just so much that goes into tournament organizing and everything before even like considering getting paid personally. And And like I wish that everything could move towards, you know, like TOs, you know, being paid like hourly and everything, like for their hard work, but it's just not like that yet. And at least
Yeah,
as it stands right now, like for locals you can't really get paid, or if you are paid it's very little. And then for regionals it's like, okay, yeah, the people behind that have to get paid.
yeah, and as an adult, it's really hard to dedicate so much time to something you're not making much more, just in general.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, you mind if I go ahead and put my take on it?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
So, I completely agree with you on everything you said. It's so much work, like on the advertisement level. I mean, if you think about it, people who promote for businesses get paid to do that. So you should be getting paid in that sense. It's a real job. You're doing multiple real jobs as an event organizer. There's the stream, there's making sure it's running, there's negotiating, you know, you're doing business with all the venues. Of course, you have to be able to be responsible with any of the money that you're getting from the venue. You're building trust in a business way. You're building community trust. So you have to remember, even though you're struggling to get paid or you're getting paid very little, you are gaining a lot of knowledge. You're gaining a lot of community trust. And if you get haters, that just means you're doing a good job. I was once told that if you see bad guys in a video game, they're going the right way.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a general thing, you know, as to say, not saying that people are bad guys, but, you know, if you get haters, that means you're doing something right. You know, if you have supporters, that's pretty obvious you're doing something right. So,
Yeah.
we really encourage you to, you know, keep tuning into the podcast. We're going to teach you how to negotiate on like a super detailed level and make sure you get a piece of your pie so you're not straining yourself over nothing. I can't tell you how many times I went negative on an event, putting money from my own job and putting it from my own pocket to get equipment, only to have that equipment stolen, or putting into the pop owners to get it's really crazy. And I believe TO should be paid, and you guys really need to stick to getting the venues to give you your cut. And I think we should really emphasize that on the next episode. I don't know if you want to, but especially because we don't want new TOs to be discouraged. We want them to understand that it's a process and that they will be paid. And we want other people to start listening to us and understanding that it's a real thing. It's a real job. It's basically, you're an event organizer, not just for video games, but you could literally create any kind of event with the kind of skills that you gain doing this over a period of years. I can't tell you how much experience I've gained doing video game tournaments. And it has led me to a lot of real life jobs. At first, you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to get paid for all this, so I don't know if I can do it. But in the long run, you get paid so much more in real life jobs that you get from the experience you gain. And you just become so much better at organizing the events that you get opportunities to go host bigger events with other people. I mean, I got the opportunity to go help out with Clutch City Clash with Krebs here. And that's because I started on my own over here doing my own thing, and he heard about me. I contacted him. You know, we talked. That's really how it is. It's a networking. Networking is the thing we should focus on next.
Yeah.
That from step one, even from the basics, networking is going to. So, you know what? I think that's something we should cover on the next podcast.
Oh yeah, certainly. Networking, and I've honestly, like, personally always had like a negative connotation to networking. Like, you know, I've sort of felt like it was like, you know, meeting people just to get something out of them, but no, there is a lot of like net positive, mutually beneficial relationships that can be built over months and years.
I think that's really good that you bring that opinion to the table, because see, we're bringing different opinions. I see it as purely beneficial, but see, you bring that opinion is good because we'll be giving people both of our, you know, in-depth looks at it, not just, you know, nothing. We're not trying to be biased, obviously, speaking from experience, but I think it's good that we have a few different views so people can see things for themselves as well. That it's not all the same, obviously, for everybody. You know, people see things differently, even you and me, and they're going to see things differently as well. But we're really going to try to lay the groundwork for everybody so they don't have to struggle no matter what. But always remember, you know, you're going to do things your own way. Get creative with it. Come up with cool event names. That's what I like to do. Everyone, you know, to their own. Yeah, don't be discouraged. if someone else plans an event on the same day either, you know, if you can't reschedule, then just keep going on with what you can. There's going to be a lot of instances and a lot of walls that you hit, and you're going to be like, oh, what the fuck? Like, why did this happen? But in all honesty, it's kind of a test, and it's testing to see if you can take more. I know it sounds weird, but just take my word for it. It's a really great adventure to become a tournament owner, especially
It is,
video games
and
like Smash and fighting games.
and there's so much value in it. There's so much value in bringing people together to play video games. I mean, it's like we were saying at the beginning, it's a great hobby. There's a ton of other things that they could be doing out there that are, you know, nothing but trouble. But this is a healthy outlet, and you get to create so many great experiences and memories for people. I've had people start dating that have met at tournaments that I've hosted, and I'm, you know, same thing I'm gonna say to all of them. Like, if y'all get married, invite me to that shit. I'm trying to go, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get you. Awesome.
Yeah, all kinds of awesome, like, amazing positive experiences that happen out of communities, and TOs can be the creators of that. So I do want to start, you know, calling it with this episode and everything. Anything you want to end the night on, Ammo?
I just want people to really open up to the idea of maybe starting some events of their own when all the, you know, all the restrictions are down and people start thinking they need to go back to events. I really think that people should consider it. And right now is a great opportunity to make online events with good numbers. So if you guys really want to make an online event, want to start, you know, tournament organizing, we're here for you. Honestly, if you want to message me, go right ahead. Let's see. I don't know how they can message me.
Yeah, it's let me see what your
I have a Twitch too. I mean, they can get me on Twitch. They can get me on Twitter. Probably Twitter is the
Wait,
best
I don't have
option.
you added. Do you know your the Discord number? You know?
It should be. Let's see here. Should be Ammo Van Dam 9150. Let me check.
9510?
Hold on, 9150. Let me double check.
Yeah.
Though. Where is it? Yeah, it's Ammo Van Dam, number 9150.
Mm-hmm. I'm Krebs T Legend, 0734.
And then I'm also Twitter at Ammo Van Dam. So you can always message me there. I'll answer. If you message me, I'll see it right away. I don't mind helping anyone out with anything, even if it's any kind of event really relating to video games. I can help you out, especially if it's online. It's super easy to set up these things. Krebs is really good with online events as well. Those are basically the autonomous one. And,
Yeah, yeah, those
they're
are
good
well.
experience.
They do need moderators though, but yeah.
Well, I think we should end the night on that.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we talked about all kinds of positive reasons and everything, why people would want to get into TOing and everything in the first place. And I hope even anyone listening to this that's just a player, or just a commentator, or just a player commentator, or anything else outside of TOing, I hope you can appreciate the perspective that we give here. I hope you can appreciate that, and let us know, I guess, what you would like to see from any future videos. You know,
If you have any questions or like something you would like for us to talk about openly, or some just a topic that you want us to cover, please let us know. You know,
Yeah.
We're being completely transparent with you guys. We're letting you guys know whatever you really want to know. Open, so you guys can see our perspective honestly.
Yeah, yeah. And that'll pretty much end it for this episode, but look out for more of these in the near future. All right, so peace.